Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of songwriting, chat with some of the most exciting artists in the world, and explore the stories behind their songs. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and as always, thank you very much for joining us. Our guest this week is Jena Malone. A true polymath, Jena has spent decades building one of the most fascinating and wide-ranging creative careers in entertainment. As an actress, she's delivered memorable performances across some of cinema's most beloved films, from Stepmom and Donnie Darko through to the Hunger Games franchise, and it's earned her a devoted following and a reputation as one of Hollywood's most compelling screen presences. But music has always run just as deeply, with Jena exploring her songwriting through projects like The Shoe and Jena Malone and the Bloodstains, as well as collaborating with the likes of Foster the People along the way. Last week, she took a significant new step forward with the release of Flowers for Men, her debut album under her own name. It's a stunning and distinctly imaginative record, weaving together science fiction influences and alt country textures into something that feels entirely of its own. In today's episode, we sit down with Jena to unpack it all. We chat about Flowers for Men and why now felt like the right moment to make a solo record under her own name, what that decision meant, and what it unlocked creatively. We explore her unique approach to songwriting and the freedom that comes with it, and we also touch on a question that fans of both her film and music work will be eager to hear answered: whether there is a world where those two sides of her creativity might one day meet on the big screen. Now, we want to say a massive thank you to Lily for her help with today's episode and remind everyone that Flowers for Men, the debut album from Jena Malone, is out right now. You'll find links in today's show notes on where you can stream and buy the record and keep up with everything that Jena has going on. While you are on the show notes, please make sure you subscribe to This Song Is Yours and go and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We would love it if you did. It really does help us out and it keeps you up to date with new episodes, guests, and everything else that we've got going on. We also recently relaunched our playlist feature on our website, so you can now find curated playlists from your favorite artists and music curators at thissongisyours.com. But let's not keep you any longer. Here is our conversation with Jena Malone.
You've been everything I've been craving. You've been on my mind.
Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Jena Malone. Jena, hello. Welcome to the podcast. It is lovely to be chatting with you today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. I was just listening to some of your other episodes and you have such a lovely interview style and I can't wait.
That is making me blush. Seconds into the interview, I'm even more excited now. It is an incredibly exciting reason why we are connecting today, as there's a debut album out from yourself. It is called Flowers for Men. It's out right now. Gorgeous record. Firstly, congratulations. How are you feeling with these songs? Now out in the world, they're free and available for everyone to listen to. What's that feeling like for yourself?
I mean, it feels amazing. It's such a funny, long, sort of shipwrecked of a time where you create these things and you live with them and you birth them and then they kind of sit on this strange shelf for a long time. And then, I'm always interested in anything that feels a little strange or maybe not natural. I'm always like, how else can we do this? Like, let's try to do something else. And I feel like the birth process between creating music and the releasing of music is too wildly long. I would really love to find a way to eliminate some of those modern structures of you have to have 6 months to review it and you have to have things out before, it's like, maybe we don't need all that. Maybe we can just create it and put it out there. I think that there's a world without as much infrastructure where people do just put things on Bandcamp and just let them in the world. And I think I'm craving a little bit of that. So if I randomly release a mixtape in 3 weeks, don't get pissed,
Not at all. Well, look, I'm excited. If there is further exploration of this kind of world that you've built, I think that's an incredibly exciting thing. As I mentioned, the album is out now. It is called Flowers for Men. And it is, I don't want to say it's the first foray into music for you, because I know that's not true. I know that there has been, what have we got? We've got The Shoe, is a project that you've been involved in. There was Jena Malone and the Bloodstains, and I know you've contributed to artists like Foster the People and I believe Harper Simon as well. But this is just Jena Malone. This is just just you on that title card. What was the catalyst, or what was that moment of going, yeah, I think it's time for my own album under just my name?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think that, in some ways it's kind of, I grew up as an actor. It's sort of what I've known my entire life. And when I started making music when I was about 20 years old, I felt like I had to hide a little bit. Like it felt like it wasn't, something felt kind of dirty or wrong, releasing something just under my name. And I don't know why. Maybe I had my own insecurities or fears around it, or maybe there was a fear of like judgment. But I felt like when I was in my 20s starting to make music, I felt like I was like, I need to have a band name. I need to hide under a band name in some ways to make me feel like it's less eyes on me and there's more of an umbrella of protection of something that I could just dive in deeply and give myself permission to explore with wild abandon. And I think that it had been a long time since I had released a record, almost 12, 13 years or something like that. And I became a mom. And I realized that I just did not give a fuck anymore. I really didn't care about people's judgment, or if I should or if I shouldn't, or if I'm an actor, or just any of those things. I feel like that's one of the gifts of kind of entering in through that tunnel of fire to get to being a parent, is that everything burns down, like it's all just like, it's just a dumpster fire in so many great ways. And what's left standing is what's real. It's like what really serves you. And I think my fear of failure and of other people's judgment never served me. So I was ready to just like, yeah, let's just make music under my own name. Like, what the F? Why not?
I kind of love that though. I think it's very true. Me, myself, and my wife recently welcomed a little one, a 7-month-old currently, and a similar kind of thing. And obviously very different projects, this album and the podcast that we're speaking on. But I definitely get that sentiment of that a number of things burn down and you kind of are able to really clearly see what is important to you, and also what I think as well, just the preconceived notions and the judgment of others is washed away.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I feel like it's like it's one of the best side effects of, bringing another human into this planet.
Exactly. This album sonically is a beautiful blend of acoustic and analog instruments, and then I want to say like a vocoder or auto-tune and little electronic flourishes. I believe that you've dubbed it sci-folk, as in SCI for those listening.
It's actually sci-fi folk.
Oh, sorry,
I wrote
folk.
it wrong on the thing. Yeah, no, it was like a typo. It's a hard thing to describe. Like sci-fi folk feels, I don't know, it felt like it was accurate when I discovered. I was like, maybe that's it. So
it definitely does fit this, like the sonics of the record, though. I feel that when listening to it, there are elements where you go, okay, that's a little bit like folky, a little bit country, and then a little bit electronic, but without being electronic. And so I think that it is aptly titled. When you were sitting down to make the songs, was there, was there the knowledge that that's the kind of soundscape that you wanted to play in? Was there thoughts of, maybe this is a pop record, maybe this is the Jena Malone hip hop record, or was this always kind of naturally going to be where you kind of headed towards?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was as linear of an artist to be like, this is going to be a Jena Malone pop record. Like I feel like I don't know how to reach for that type of genre accuracy. I only know how to reach for stories. And I feel like my first reach is songwriting and vocals, because that's the first instrument that I ever learned. And I think that within vocals, the first thing that you can play with to enhance a story or build a story is the effect that the vocals live in. And the more I learn about vocal modulation and vocal effects and distortion and all of the entire world of it, what it does is it opens 1,000 doors of storytelling. And all of a sudden, like, I have the ability to be a 3,000-year-old grandmother robot. I have the ability to be a 4-year-old child. I have the ability to be a stick stuck in mud, you know? It's sort of, it's just, it really, I love it. It's so freeing. It's full of risk. And I think that for me, this album started sonically in the voice, and then everything was sort of built around that. Like, it felt like I was using and really it was just because that's how it came together. You know, a lot of this, the songwriting process happened, you know, while I was breastfeeding my son and while I was waiting for, you know, like a pickup line at school or at the doctor's office. And I just feel like it was a begged and borrowed and stolen time kind of apparatus that I was furiously, you know, on my phone, trying to think of these ideas or get these ideas out. And what I did was I found this amazing app that I really fell in love with, called Volico, that I started recording freestyle vocals in to kind of allow me to start thinking of the world and how to build it. And I just became obsessed. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is so science fiction. This is so future thinking, and it's so wildly human that I felt like the tones helped me write the songs. And then once I had the idea, each song kind of had different templates of characters, aka tones. Then it was really about, oh, okay, so this is more of the Western piece. You know, this is more of this piece, and musically, it was all created around the tone / character of the vocal.
I kind of love that though. And at the start of that answer, and thank you very much for sharing that.
Of course.
At the start of the answer, you said, I wish I could be that focused of an artist to do just that. But then what you went on to describe was something that I don't think many current day artists maybe realize or utilize is maybe a better term, to be less insulting to those other artists, in terms of songwriters do really have the ability to be anything. As you said, you could be a 70-year-old person doing this. You could be an infant doing this. There is a world that is just available to songwriters, and sometimes that's forgotten. And I think it is, firstly, an incredible testament to yourself and your songwriting in terms of having that open mind when creating these songs, and with the soundscape as well. I would love to be slightly self-indulgent. We've been lucky enough to have a listen to the album already, and there was one song that, personally, I'm a sucker for slide guitar. I'm not sure about you, but there is something about slide guitar that I just absolutely love. And on one of the tracks, I feel like people are going to say, oh, you picked it just because of the evocative title. That is not the case. It was the slide guitar, the alt country tone, and then with the auto-tune and vocoder over it. It was just something that I thought was absolutely heavenly. I listened to it, you know, quite a few times. Fuck Boys was the track.
Yeah, I love it.
The refrain with flowers are deadly, but fuck boys are free. Wondering whether you might share with us where that song was born from, or what inspired it, or how it came to be.
And yeah, thank you. That's so cool. It was such a that song was really my producing partner, Jamie Jackson's baby. So I was messing around one day. I had this tiny little sliver of an idea that felt like I didn't have confidence in it. You know, I was like, ugh, like I hate it. I don't love it. What is it? And Jamie, at the sort of divine goddess shepherd, music shepherd that she is, was just like, keep going, you know, and then she would give me a little piano, and then I would keep going, and she'd give me a little bit of this. And eventually, like, it just kind of, she birthed it. She was the midwife of that song, because I was very much like, this is not happening. I'm not sure. The whole chorus part, flowers are deadly and fuckboys are free, it was a completely different chorus for a really long time. I was very adamant. I was like, this is it. This is the song. And she came to me, and I love this because it's kind of the first time I've ever had, it's the first time I've collaborated with a woman. And it's the first time I've collaborated with someone that I felt gave me ultimate freedom and really allowed me to have compassionate feedback, which I really needed as well. And so she came to me and she was like, the chorus is just not working. You know, it's really sad, and it's too on the nose. I think it was something like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not great enough, or something along those lines. And I heard her, and I was just like, oh, I love feedback. I don't know about you, like as a parent, being a parent, it would like bristle me. I'd be like, oh, am I good enough? I'd get all defensive. But now when anyone wants to give me feedback, I feel like it's a homework assignment, and I'm so hungry for that. And so I was like, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I just instantly went down, and I was like, and just came up with that chorus, flowers are deadly and fuckboys are free, almost instantly. And I was like, let's re-record it. Let's do it. And so I just feel like that song came very much. And she was like, I know, an amazing slide guitarist. She was the one that really saw the vision of that song. I was sort of like a toddler, like dragging my feet, kind of kicking and screaming a bit, being like, I don't think this is the one. I don't love it. And then, yeah, it's one of my favorite songs on the record. So I love that kind of stuff.
I absolutely love that. Thank you very much for giving us that insight
Oh,
and
of
kind of like
course,
peek
of
behind the
course.
curtain. I was wondering whether you might share with us. I know that you mentioned that you have been like songwriting and making music and learning about your voice and songwriting for a number of years. I know that people might predominantly know you as an actor, but I was wondering whether you might share that introduction to songwriting, what it was, if you remember, however many years ago, what it was that got you interested in music, and that first step into creating your own music.
Yeah, it's a great question. I always love knowing how people get into music, because it seems like there's like the linear path, which like everyone
Mm-hmm.
has the same iteration of a story. And then there's the non-linear path, which is just like no one has the same story. It's like
Yes.
so random. It's so off the course. And I love the non-linear path, obviously. It's like it's one of my favorites. I I started acting when I was 10. My mom was an actress. She did like community theater. I was raised in a very like poor community theater. Like both my moms worked like multiple jobs. So it felt like being backstage at the theater was very much like a babysitting. Like we would just be there all night. I remember hanging out with the props people, and it became part of my world so much that it was very easy for me to think when I was 10 to be like, I want to do this. I want to be an actor. And I did get to try that. And I was had a lot of success, and it was really amazing. And I think instantly as I became a successful actor at like 11 or 12, I was like, okay, what next? What do I
Mm-hmm.
want to become? Because it just felt like it wasn't like the risk doesn't stop there. And so on the sets that I was on, I realized that for me, my favorite person on set that had the most mystery and power and risk was the cinematographer, right? And so I would sit on set just watching them all day long, talking to them, chatting their ears off, like, get away from me, kids. Like, I got to work. And all I wanted to be was a cinematographer. I realized that I needed to learn cameras. So at 14, I got a camera. I started taking like little extension courses of like photography, ended up going to college, quitting acting when I was 18 to go back to well, not back to college, but go to college for photography. And I loved it. And it was amazing. And I was like ready. Around 19 or 20, I got a film camera, and I was like, okay, I'm going to like start playing. And I got it. And I was making this movie in Spain, and I was shooting all this footage, and I put it onto my laptop or whatever I had at that time. I mean, it was so long ago, like 2003 or something, whatever. I can't even imagine. And I got in there, and I was like, okay, cool. But what about the sound?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just opened up GarageBand, and I was like, okay, put my headphones on, and I literally never turned back. I
Mm-hmm.
became so obsessed with making music just from that one tiny impulse of like, oh, I could open up GarageBand and make something to back the video that I'm making. But once I got into it, I was just in awe. I literally have not turned back. Now I've like put down cinematography. Like it's sort of like I'm deeply in the lane of music. And I never would have discovered that I was never raised with the awareness that I could be a music producer. I didn't have anyone around me. I did not learn music. I did not know music theory. I mean, even now I struggle with like, see what's that note and how do I speak
Hmm.
to, trained musicians. I've always been really an outsider in that world. And so I felt like it was easier to be an outsider actor where you could come in knowing nothing. But
Hmm.
music, I never felt I had permission to come in knowing nothing. And for whatever reason, because I entered it from a left door, from the alley, I felt like I had permission. I was like, oh, I got to teach myself this because I have to. And it's just, I'm so glad. Isn't it so cool that we were given such interesting, like digital tools? I think about the kids now, doing TikTok and how it's such an incredible editing device, and how really to be able to be a good director, you have to have an understanding of editing and just like potentially we're sort of indoctrinating or raising like the next generation of amazing writers and directors and editors because of these digital free formats that are teaching them how to use editing tools. I just think it's so cool.
100%. I think that there is a lens on TikTok and social apps like that from maybe generations gone by and much older than both you and I, where it's looked at as like a time waster, it's things like that. But it is, and it can be when used in the right way, like an educational tool for creatives. It is a really, really interesting thing. And I kind of love that, almost similar to your description of songwriting in terms of going in, realizing, oh, I need to find an end to a means to an end, sorry, means to an end. And then realizing, oh my God, this whole universe, I can basically do whatever I want to or choose to do with this.
Hmm. Yeah, it was amazing.
It's incredible.
It was so cool. I'm just so glad that I was born at the generation that had access to a laptop and there was iMovie and there was GarageBand and they were layman's things that I didn't have to have a college education to understand. It really, I love when things give people permission without gatekeeping, withholding access. I just find that so frustrating.
I 100% agree. I do very quickly want to ask, I did have a quick look, as mentioned, an incredible body of work when it does come to your filmography. There's classics, and even in terms of, I had mentioned to one or two family members today who I was speaking to for the podcast, and it was funny that different favorites kind of came out. Not everyone had the same favorite when it did come to yourself. Obviously, there's The Hunger Games, there is Life as a House, there is Stepmom for a lot of people. Myself being a baby of the late 80s, Donnie Darko, classic. But having a look, there was music adjacent movies. There was nothing that was full musical, if that makes sense. What did I had? There was Stardust, The Soloist, Four Last Songs, things that had music related topics. I was wondering, is that an interest for you in terms of bringing those two worlds together, almost not smashing them together, but like having a musical with Jena Malone?
Yeah, of course. I'm waiting. I'm just like, it's so funny. I'm like frothing at the bit. Every time there's a musical, I'm like, count me in, like bring me over. I think potentially because I don't know why, for whatever reason that opportunity has never presented itself. But again, I find that a lot of musicals in film and in theater, particularly theater, they really want trained voices. It's a world where, unless you're like Lars Van Trier or, sort of doing something completely off the cuff. And I'm sure I could train my voice. It's just not like the thing that excites me the most in the whole world, But I'm sure there's going to be something one day, who knows?
I'm hoping that this is putting that into the universe, manifesting something, possibly Flowers for Men, the musical at some point. We'll wait and see. Jena, I was wondering whether you might indulge us. We usually wrap up our conversations asking, I guess, what they're currently listening to. For yourself, is there anything that is on high rotation that you're loving at the moment?
Yeah, high rotation is, so my music taste right now is pretty much really like my son centered. So I don't really listen to much. I listen to like my mom music when I'm like cleaning or doing dishes or something, but it's very rare. So we listen to music on the way to school. and
Hmm.
on the way back to school and sort of all the car activities. And I love kind of a little bit of leaning back and just being like, because I love to see what he's into. And right now he's really into Cat's Eye, which is cool.
Hmm.
Very cool stuff. And then I got to expose him to a new artist that I just discovered called Meek, which I think is really cool.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be more coming from this amazing artist, but there's only a couple songs you can listen to right now. But Fabulous is incredible. And then simultaneously, I kind of throw in this like covert education of like the music I grew up on. And so
Hmm.
right now I'm kind of in the like late 80s, early 90s R&B world
Okay.
where so I'm kind of just like I'll like occasionally throw on like a PM Dawn, just like
Hmm.
like oh, there's this new artist. um which is really fun. And it's fun for me too because then I feel like when he's like, "Oh, who is this?" Like I'm into this. I'm like, "Oh, just a song, song I used to listen to when I was your age or whatever." Um it's so fun. I love discovering and rediscovering music through my son. It's the best.
100%. Both fantastic picks in terms of Cat's Eye and Meek, but also definitely agree in terms of, I think one of the maybe funnest or side parts of being a parent is you do get to kind of play your own music and see if it clicks and see, oh yeah, oh, you like this? Oh, cool. Yeah, definitely. Oh, all right. It's,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
mostly parents' music taste is like you know, oh, this is your music, mom. Like, even if it's like something they love. It's so
Mm.
funny how they have like a moderate allergic reaction to anything that you find cool.
Exactly, exactly. Well, look, I'm hoping that is not going to be the case for your son with Flowers for Men. It is an incredible album. It
Oh,
is
thank
out
you.
now and people are listening, and we'll make sure there are links for people to purchase the record, stream it, and there are a number of dates across the US in June and July, which will make sure tickets are available in the podcast show notes as well for people to go and buy. But Jena Malone, thank you very much for coming to chat with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Simon. I really appreciate it.